Your memories are not snapshots of things that ended. They are open windows through which your current life force is constantly leaking. What if the heavy weight you carry today has nothing to do with your present circumstances, but is actually the gravity of a past that refuses to stay dead? We have been taught to view time as a straight line, a series of footprints fading behind us in the sand, but the deeper we look into the fabric of reality, the more we realize that the past is not behind us. It is a live quantum state, an active frequency that is either fueling your growth or silently draining your soul in real time. Imagine your consciousness as a vast reservoir of light. Every time you experience a moment of high-impact emotional distress, a fragment of that light becomes tethered to that specific point in time. It stays there, looping, reliving the moment, and demanding a portion of your current energy to sustain its existence. Ancient traditions called this karma, or the fragmented soul, while modern physics is beginning to touch upon the idea of quantum entanglement across temporal dimensions. There is a specific phenomenon, a hidden law of the mind, that allows us to reach back into these haunted timelines and collapse them, reclaiming the power we thought was lost forever. In this exploration, we will first dismantle the comfortable illusion of fixed history and see the past for what it truly is, a collection of active energetic data. Then we will identify the invisible emotional threads that act as parasitic leaks in your daily vitality, showing you exactly where your power is going. Finally, we will walk through the specific process of timeline collapse, a method of quantum forgiveness that doesn't just soothe the mind, but literally rewrites the energetic blueprint of your destiny. By the time we reach the end, we will face a question that challenges the very foundation of who you think you are in this moment. If your past is still happening in some hidden corner of the field, and it is currently consuming the energy you need to build your future, then the most important question isn't how to move on. The real mystery we must solve is this: how do you finally stop feeding the ghosts of your yesterday? To understand how to free yourself, we must first look at the invisible cage we have built around the concept of time. We usually think of our lives as a series of boxes stacked in a warehouse. The boxes at the bottom are the past, dusty and closed, while the boxes at the top are the present. We believe that because we cannot see the bottom boxes, they have no influence on the stability of the stack. But this is the great illusion of the material world. Think of your consciousness not as a generator of moments, but as a sophisticated radio receiver. The music you hear right now, your current reality, is simply the frequency you are tuned into. But just because you are listening to one station doesn't mean the others have stopped broadcasting. In the quantum realm, scientists have observed a phenomenon where particles remain connected across vast distances, influencing each other instantaneously. This is known as entanglement. What we are beginning to realize is that this entanglement doesn't just happen across space, it happens across time. Your current self is entangled with every version of you that has ever existed. When we experience a moment of profound shame, terror, or grief, we create a high-energy quantum signature. Because this signature is so intense, it acts like a gravitational well in your timeline. It pulls on your current awareness, demanding that you look back, demanding that you feel it again. The conventional view tells us that the past is a fixed record, an unchangeable script that we must simply learn to live with. We are told to carry our baggage with grace. But what if this view is fundamentally incomplete? Ancient wisdom from the Vedic traditions to the Neoplatonists suggests that the soul does not move through time. Time moves through the soul. If the past is still broadcasting its signal into your present, then it isn't actually the past at all. It is an active, haunting timeline that has not been collapsed. It is a wave of possibility that has frozen into a loop of suffering, and it is draining your current vitality because you are the one providing the power to keep that loop spinning. What if every ancient tradition that spoke of forgiveness wasn't actually talking about a moral favor you do for someone else? What if forgiveness is actually a high-level spiritual technology designed to collapse these wave functions? When you forgive, you aren't saying that what happened was right. You are withdrawing your energetic investment from that specific point in the field. You are cutting the tether. We have been taught to be victims of our history, but the emerging paradigm suggests we are actually the conscious observers who have the power to decide which timelines remain active and which ones dissolve back into the void. This isn't just a poetic way of looking at life. There are specific markers, observable signs in your daily experience that prove you are currently entangled with these haunting timelines. These are the energetic leaks that explain why you feel exhausted despite sleeping, or why you feel stuck despite your best efforts to change. There is a way to identify these tethers, and more importantly, a way to reclaim the fragmented consciousness that is currently trapped within them. Let us decode the signs that your past is still trying to live through you, and how we can begin the process of calling our power back. The first sign that you are living in a haunted timeline is the phenomenon of the temporal loop. You might recognize this in your own life as a recurring theme that seems to follow you regardless of your environment. Perhaps it is a specific type of conflict that arises in every relationship, or a sudden, inexplicable feeling of scarcity that hits just when you're about to succeed. This isn't bad luck, and it isn't a flaw in your character. It is what the ancients called a samskara, an energetic groove carved into the fabric of your consciousness. Think of it like a record player, where the needle has found a deep, jagged scratch. No matter how much you want to hear the next song, the needle is physically forced to repeat the same few seconds of audio over and over again. These loops are the universe's way of showing you exactly where your energy is trapped. Every time the loop repeats, it is an invitation to look at the quantum signature you left behind in a previous moment of distress. You are not experiencing a new problem. You are experiencing a past vibration that has not yet been collapsed. Carl Jung spent decades observing these patterns and noted that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This is the essence of the temporal loop. When you find yourself saying, "Why does this always happen to me?" you're actually identifying a specific tether to a version of yourself that is still stuck in a past trauma. You have likely felt this before, haven't you? That uncanny sense of, here we go again, where the faces and places have changed, but the underlying emotion is identical to something you felt 10 years ago. This is the first signal that your past is not a memory, but an active broadcast. The Vedic seers describe this as the wheel of samsara, a cycle of action and reaction that keeps the soul bound to the same density. But the secret, they whispered, was that the wheel only turns because we are the ones pushing it with our subconscious attention. To begin breaking this loop, you must engage in a practice called pattern mapping. For the next few days, instead of reacting to the frustrations of your life, observe them as if you were a scientist studying a distant planet. When a familiar feeling of anxiety or rejection arises, ask yourself, when was the first time I felt this exact frequency? Don't look for the story or the person who caused it. Look for the raw energy of the feeling itself. By identifying the frequency, you begin to separate your current self from the haunted timeline. You are no longer the one suffering. You are the one observing the suffering. This shift in perspective is the first step in withdrawing the power that keeps the loop spinning. But recognizing the loop is only the beginning. Once you see the pattern, you will start to notice a more physical sensation, a literal drain on your vitality that suggests your energy is being siphoned away by something invisible. This leads us to the second component of our journey, which we will call the parasitic cord. Have you ever woken up after a full night of sleep, feeling as though you've run a marathon? Or perhaps you find that your creative drive vanishes the moment you think about a certain period of your life. This is because your energy is not a bottomless well. It is a finite resource of focused intentionality. When a trauma remains unresolved, a portion of your psyche stays on guard at that point in time. It is as if you are running a high-powered security system in a house you moved out of years ago. You are paying the electricity bill for a past that no longer exists. In esoteric traditions, these are known as energetic tethers, or cords, that link your current biofield to a fragmented version of your soul. Every time you ruminate on a past mistake or a person who wronged you, you are strengthening that cord, allowing your current life force to flow backward into the void. The law of conservation of energy states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. In the context of your soul, this means that the energy you are using to haunt your own past is energy that is unavailable for your healing, your manifestation, and your joy in the present. The Stoics spoke of the inner citadel, a place of absolute presence that cannot be breached by external events. But they warned that if the mind is scattered across the past and the future, the walls of the citadel crumble. You've experienced this, haven't you? The feeling of being scattered, as if you are not fully present in your own body. This is the physical manifestation of your energy leaking through a parasitic cord. You aren't tired because of what you're doing. You're tired because of where you're staying subconsciously. To reclaim this leaked power, You can practice the visualization of retrieval. Find a moment of silence and close your eyes. Imagine yourself standing in a dark room and see the thin, glowing threads of light extending from your heart center into the distance. Some threads go to people, some to old homes, some to moments of pain. Take a deep breath and with a firm internal command, imagine yourself gently but decisively pulling those threads back into your own chest. As the light returns to you, feel the warmth and the weight of your own presence growing stronger. You are not cutting these memories away. You are simply bringing your light back home. You are telling the universe that you are no longer willing to fund the ghost of your past. But as you reclaim this energy, you will find yourself standing at a crossroads. Now that you have the power back, what do you do with the event itself? This brings us to the core mechanic of our work, the power of the witness. The third component is the neutral void, or what physicists might call the collapse of the wave function. In quantum mechanics, a particle exists in a state of all possibilities until it is observed. The act of observation collapses the wave into a single solid reality. Your past traumas are currently existing as uncollapsed waves of pain. They are messy, emotional, and multidimensional. When you look at them through the lens of your current ego, you add more emotion to the wave, keeping it turbulent and active. But there is a different way of seeing. The ancient Taoists called it Wu Wei, or non-action, and the Desert Fathers called it hesychasm, a state of profound, silent stillness. When you look at a past event with absolute neutrality, without judging it as good or bad, you are acting as the ultimate observer. You are withdrawing the emotional charge that keeps the timeline active. Think of a difficult memory right now. Notice how your body reacts, the tightening in the chest, the heat in the face. That reaction is you feeding the wave. Now, imagine you are looking at that same memory through a thick pane of glass. You can see the events, but you cannot feel the heat. You are simply watching a movie. This is the practice of neutral observation. By refusing to react, you are effectively telling the quantum field that this event no longer has a hold on your frequency. You are collapsing the haunted timeline into a simple historical fact. It becomes a data point rather than a living ghost. The music of that old radio station finally fades into static because you have stopped providing the signal. This is the true meaning of quantum forgiveness. It is not about liking what happened. It is about becoming so still that the event has nothing left to vibrate against. Does this mean the past simply vanishes? Not exactly. It means the past is finally allowed to become fixed history rather than a live broadcast. When the wave collapses, the energy that was trapped within it is released. This brings us to our fourth component, soul fragment recovery. In many shamanic traditions, it is believed that when we suffer a trauma, a part of our essence literally leaves our body to survive the experience. We walk through life as fragmented beings, trying to build a future with only half of our soul present. This is why many people feel a sense of emptiness or numbness, even when their lives are objectively good. They are missing the pieces of themselves that they left behind in the dark. But through the power of intentionality, we can call these fragments back. We can achieve a state of wholeness that is a prerequisite for any high-level spiritual evolution. Imagine your consciousness as a mirror that was shattered by the impact of life. Each shard is a piece of your identity, your passion, and your vitality. Some shards are buried in the shame of childhood, others are lost in the grief of a lost love. To be whole is to gather these shards and melt them back into a single reflecting surface. You can do this by practicing alchemical integration. Choose a version of yourself from the past that you usually try to ignore. The rejected you, the failed you, the weak you. In your mind's eye, sit down with that version of yourself. Don't offer advice and don't try to change them. Simply offer them your presence. Imagine yourself taking that younger, hurting version of you by the hand and bringing them into your current heart space. As you integrate these fragments, you will feel an immediate surge of physical and mental energy. Your biofield stops leaking because the holes are finally being mended. This leads us to the final and perhaps most mind-blowing component of the practical heart, the high-probability timeline. Once you have reclaimed your energy and integrated your fragments, you are no longer the person you were 10 minutes ago. Your frequency has changed, and because your frequency has changed, you are no longer compatible with your old future. The Hermetic law of vibration states that nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Your future is not a single path. It is a field of infinite possibilities, ranging from the lowest timeline of repetition to the highest timeline of your soul's evolution. Most people are locked into a mediocre future because their current vibration is a perfect match for their past baggage. They are walking toward a future that is just a remix of their yesterday. But when you collapse the haunted timelines, you create a frequency vacuum. The universe abhors a vacuum, and it will rush to fill it with a new reality. By intentionally calibrating your vibration to the highest probability, you are effectively choosing which future you will inhabit. This isn't about wishing or hoping, it is about resonance. It is like a tuning fork. If you strike a fork tuned to the note of C, every other C fork in the room will begin to vibrate in sympathy. If you calibrate your internal state to one of peace, wholeness, and liberation, you will begin to activate the future events that resonate with that same frequency. You are not searching for your destiny, you are vibrating into it. This brings us to a critical realization. If you have the power to collapse the past and activate the future through your present observation, then you are not a passenger in the vehicle of time. You are the architect of the temporal landscape. But this level of power comes with a terrifying question. If your reality is a reflection of your internal frequency, and you now know how to change that frequency, then who is the you that is making the choice? Are you the ego that wants comfort, or are you something far older, something that has been watching this entire play from the beginning? As we move toward the climax of our journey, we must face the possibility that your higher self isn't a separate entity at all, but a version of you that is already free, calling to you from a timeline you haven't yet realized you've already created. Everything we have discussed so far leads us to a precipice, a point where the logic of the material world begins to crumble and a deeper, more haunting reality takes its place. We have explored the mechanics of how our past traumas act as active quantum states, draining our current life force. We have looked at the tools for collapsing these haunted timelines and reclaiming our fragmented power. But here is where the mystery takes its most profound turn, a twist that recontextualizes every choice you have ever made. If time is not a straight line, and if your consciousness has the power to reach back and dissolve the energetic tethers of your yesterday, then we must confront an impossible paradox. Who is actually doing the rescuing? Consider the moments in your life when you felt a sudden, inexplicable nudge to go a different way, or a mysterious surge of strength that allowed you to survive a moment of total despair. We usually call this intuition, or perhaps the intervention of a guardian angel. But what if the source of that guidance is far more intimate? What if your higher self isn't some distant ethereal entity residing in a higher dimension? What if it is literally you, years or even decades from now, having already lived through this suffering and found the way out? In this quantum view of reality, your future self is not a passive destination you are moving toward. It is an active force, sending echoes backward through the field to guide your present self toward liberation. This is the hidden geometry of the soul. We are not just victims trying to fix a broken past. We are participants in a grand temporal loop of self-rescue. Every time you practice quantum forgiveness, every time you sit in the neutral void and collapse a haunted timeline, you're not just helping your current self. You are clearing the path for the version of you that is already free. You are answering the call from your own future. Imagine a lighthouse standing on a distant shore, casting its beam across a dark and turbulent ocean. You are the boat, struggling through the waves of your past traumas, but you are also the light in the tower, the one who is already home, ensuring that the path remains visible. In the zero-point field where all potentials meet, the one who needs help and the one who provides it are the same person, separated only by the illusion of linear time. This realization brings us to the profound implications of our awakening. If this model is true, it changes the very nature of human responsibility. We can no longer view ourselves as passive recipients of a fate that was written for us by our ancestors, our childhoods, or our tragedies. If you have the power to collapse the past and calibrate your frequency to a higher future, then you are the primary architect of your reality. But this is a heavy crown to wear. It means that the ghosts that haunt your life are not external invaders. They are energetic investments that you, on some level, are still choosing to fund. The difficult situation you are facing right now, the relationship that drains you, the career that stifles you, the self-doubt that paralyzes you is not a wall, it is a question, and your future self is desperately nudging you toward the answer. The real shift happens when you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, What version of myself am I feeding right now? Every choice you make in the present sends ripples in both directions. When you choose to reclaim your power from a past trauma, you are sending a pulse of liberation backward to that younger version of you, telling them that they survived, that it is over, and that they can finally let go. Simultaneously, you are sending a pulse of potential forward, building the foundation for a future that is no longer dictated by karmic repetition. You are literally rewriting the script of your existence in real time. This is the responsibility of the awakened soul, to realize that your current vibration is the pivot point upon which the entire universe of your life turns. But as we stand in this new paradigm, we find ourselves facing a deeper, more unsettling mystery. If we are the ones rescuing ourselves, and if we are the ones projecting our reality onto the screen of time, then who exactly is the witness behind it all? We often identify with our stories, our names, and our wounds. We think we are the person who lived through X or Y. But if you can observe your past as a data point, and if you can observe your future as a set of probabilities, then you cannot be either of them. You are the space in which they both occur. You are the silence between the notes of the music. The ancient Hermetic text, the Emerald Tablet, tells us, as above, so below, as within, so without. This is more than a mystical proverb. It is a description of the holographic nature of consciousness. If the entire cosmos is a reflection of the internal state, then you are not a small part of a vast universe. You are the entire universe experiencing itself through a temporary, localized point of view. The timelines you are collapsing and the futures you are activating are just different rooms in the infinite mansion of your own mind. Perhaps the reason the past is so difficult to let go of is that we have mistaken the room for the inhabitant. We have mistaken the play for the actor. So we arrive at the final question, the one that never truly gets answered, only lived. If consciousness is the ground of all being, and you are that consciousness exploring the dimensions of time and memory, then who is the one reading these words right now? Is it the person you were taught to be, the one tethered to a history of lack and limitation? Or is it the observer who has been waiting for you to remember your own power? Perhaps you didn't click on this video by accident. Perhaps this was a message sent from the lighthouse of your own future, a subtle nudge to remind you that the tethers are an illusion and the cage was never locked. The work of quantum forgiveness is not a one-time event. It is a continuous act of returning to the present moment, the only place where the past can be dissolved and the future can be born. It is a journey into the heart of the mystery, a process of peeling back the layers of who you think you are until only the truth remains. And the truth is simpler and more terrifying than we ever imagined. You are the one you have been waiting for. You are the collapse of the wave. You are the free soul, finally coming home to yourself. If these ideas resonate with your own journey into the unknown, consider subscribing to this channel. This is not a place for final answers or rigid dogmas. It is a shared hunt for the mysteries that lie just beneath the surface of our perceived reality. Every video is a step deeper into the forest of the soul, and we would be honored to have you as part of the search. There is so much more to uncover, so many more timelines to explore, and so many more tethers to sever, until we meet again in the next layer of the mystery. The hunt continues.